Why would you get kicked out of your mom's?
No, my mom was always getting kicked out.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, she was a hustler. So, you know, she was selling drugs. We would get raided. Like, I grew up getting raided. I'll be like, with the cops in my house. You know, I even had to, you know, I grew up seeing my mom with the dope man trying to stick her and shit. Like,
oh, shit.
Yeah, real shit.
You witnessed all this as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I posted some stories a while back on YouTube, but I deleted them for some reason back in the day. But there was this one time, and I'll share it. We're living in apartments and shit on my side of town where I grew up at. And my mom was selling PCP. And I guess she burned the connect. She didn't have the money on time or whatever. But my mom had this, she was with this lesbian girl that raised us and shit. You know, she's like a stud, you know, looked like a man type girl, you know what I mean? They met in prison and they was just like road dogs. They lived together, you know. Every time they got out of prison, they'd hook up and get a new apartment and we'd be starting our family all over again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I remember coming out, me and my sister and my brother, and seeing them fighting in the living room. And this dude was trying to stab my mom. She was like moving around, jumping around. And the dyke homegirl, my mom's homegirl, Droopy, tried to, you know, fight the dude. And he knocked her straight out, you know, and grabbed us as little kids.
How old were you witnessing this?
I want to say probably like 8 years old. Yeah, I remember he grabbed us as little kids and threw us in the room. But I remember like it was yesterday. And he threw us in the room. Like, we was like, okay, you know, dude threw us in the room. He's beating my mom. You know, there's really nothing to do, you know what I mean? And so I remember throwing my sister out the window, telling her to go tell the homies across the street, like all the older homies were out there chilling, drinking and shit. We knew like they would like support us, you know. So she ran over there. Next, you know what? They came over there. Dude jumped in his mini truck and he was busting his windows out and he was peeling out. Dude barely made it out of there. You know?
Damn.
So shit like that I went through, man. At a young age, man. And it was just, there was so many different events growing up like that. So by the time like 10 years old, 11 years old, I'm like looking at people. I'm like, man, why you doing this? Why you in this environment? You know. And you can tell when you're in my first time in juvenile hall, I was 10. And I'm looking at people, I'm like, you guys are getting fucking visits. My mom didn't come for 4 months. And as soon as she came, they released me. They was only holding me because nobody came to pick me up. You know what I mean?
Damn.
She was locked up, you know. I was staying with my grandma. My grandma was like, fuck you.
Damn, like that?
Yeah. My co-partner was my uncle my first time. He's 2 years older than me. I mean, his mom was just telling him to take them. I remember him in the back car calling his mom a bitch, shit like that. And we're handcuffed. Back in them old 80s cars. 1988, first time you know.
You feel like going through stuff like that was like real traumatic for you? That's something you carried on even to this day?
You know, you try to like, now that I'm getting older and I see all these studies on PTSD and all this other shit that where it's caused from and stuff, like, you know, people that go to war and, you know, shit like that, right? But that shit happens here. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to war to do that. So yeah, I know that, you know what I'm saying? It definitely has some effect and shit, but as growing up, you're thinking like, oh, that's just, you know, you bragged about it, you know, stuff like that. I see people bragging about how their dad used to spank them and shit like that. I'm like, damn, you guys had it good. You know what I mean? You know, like, my grandma didn't come through with no bout and just say turn around and you got 3 lickings. It was just some chaotic shit. Dragging the toaster down the motherfucking hallway. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Talk to me about getting raided. How was that like? Witnessing that. Did you even understand what was going on at the time?
Yeah, but it was always trauma. Like, I was like, damn, another thing. So, you know what I mean? So, like, that's why when I got my first place, like, I was always stressing out. Like, man, I would pay the rent 5 days ahead of time. You know, I was like, because we would always get kicked out. But, yeah, my mom got raided a lot, man. I remember this one time, she opened the door, and there was 2 narcs outside. And back in the day, used to wear, like, these Hawaiian shirts and shit, and just try to fit in, you know? But, you know, nobody in the fucking neighborhood wears those shirts, you know? It was just...
They stand out, obviously.
Yeah, it was just funny. Like, they come dressed like Scarface, knocking on your door to buy drugs. And maybe that's where they got that from, because I never understood that. But, because everybody in the neighborhood was cholos, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like... But I remember my uncle Babu, he seen what was going on, and he pulled up on the bike, and he told my mom to go inside and close the door. And he started arguing with the cops, and he started fighting with him. He threw the bike on him and started fighting with him. He ended up getting like 7 to 8 years for that. And he gave my mom enough time to flush what she had. She was getting ready to sell them. She was questioning everything, and they were like, "So and so said this." She's all, "Who?" I remember her like, "Who?" And she was trying to like investigate them, interrogate them, and shit, right? But she was ready to sell them if they would have like convinced her.
Uh,
You know what I mean?
that's true.